Welcome to Suthichai Live English. Today I have a very special guest, a good friend, and we have been in conversation for a long time from the very early days of his political career, and now he is officially retired from politics. And see how time flies, and we still are stuck somewhere in the wilderness of politics, I would say. คุณอภิสิทธิ์ เวชชาชีวะ former prime minister สวัสดีครับ อภิสิทธิ์ครับ สวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีครับ
ครับ I have been asked by many people, so what is Abhisit up to? So I need to ask you that first question. What are you doing?
I've been asked that a lot of time too.
Yeah, okay. So what is the answer?
And also I'm asking myself every day.
What are you doing to yourself?
But you already said I've officially retired.
Yeah, officially in quotes.
But without the quotes, I say I'm just on a sabbatical. I just don't know how long.
Sabbatical. That is a very strange sabbatical because you are supposedly in retirement. When you are in retirement, you don't call it sabbatical. Sabbatical sounds too good. I mean, too young. Retirement. So you don't mix the two, right?
Well, you know, I'm 20 years too young to be the president of the United States. So
20 years too young to be president. I know.
It looks like it.
80 or something, at least 80. But then,
so basically, I have resigned the membership of the party.
Yes.
Which I guess that's why you can say I have officially retired.
You have, yes.
Obviously, I remain a very concerned citizen, a very keen observer of what's going on in politics and what's happening to the country and also to the world.
Right.
Yeah. And I continue to have engagements in, speaking engagements, lectures, seminars, both domestic and international institutions, almost on a weekly basis.
Okay.
And also I'm now with the Sahapat group, helping them with their work, particularly their training course, some of the social aspects of their work. So I'm busy. I'm not completely unemployed. But the problem, of course, I have still is that wherever I go and I meet people, their expectation or their understanding is I have not retired.
No, you don't look like you have retired.
And also they still cannot believe that I'm not a member of the Democrat Party.
Yeah, that I think was the biggest move in your life, in your political life, or in your lifetime, because
Sure. And I have to confess I never thought it would happen.
Oh yeah. So can you tell us why? What was the last straw?
Well, I wouldn't call it the last straw, but I think over the last 4 or 5 years, at least, the parties has drifted away somewhat from my political beliefs, and they show no signs of trying to get back to the kind of party I want to see the Democrat be. And I don't have any position in the party, but as I just said to you, wherever I go, there are expectations that I can somehow influence the party. So I hear a lot of suggestions, criticisms, and I'm completely helpless in the sense that there's nothing that I can do. And I don't think it's fair to people. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to the party. So I thought the best course of action would be to leave the party.
It means that you did try. You did give yourself a last attempt to try to revive the party, so to say, but you failed.
Yeah, I think the people who now hold power have a different set of beliefs. My position was clear. I thought to revive the party really needs to find a new political space, given the changing environment of the political scene. And to do that, we had to really get back to what we stood for, as we declared, we in this case, meaning the party, declared when it was founded. And I thought that there is space, there is room for a party of that kind.
Mm-hmm.
But they are not really interested in going down that path.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So why didn't you get enough support in the party to make that change?
Well, I think that technicalities, as you
Yeah.
would have recalled about the rules,
Mhm.
where disproportionate power was given to the MPs,
Yeah.
and the rules were written when we had 150, 160 MPs.
Right.
Now we are down to less than
25.
25.
Mhm.
And so the weighting was not really right. And as you saw, majority of the MPs actually voted for Kun Sethha to become prime minister.
Yeah.
So their thinking is certainly different from mine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, the Democrat Party was always thought of as the symbol of progressive politics. Things have changed so badly in the past decade or so that it's not recognizable.
Yeah, and we slipped back. Now we are seen as part of some kind of conservative.
Yes.
Well, it was certainly in the last government a conservative coalition.
Mm-hmm.
You will also recall that I tried to steer the party away from that by declaring not a supporter of the current constitution when there was a referendum, and of course by saying that we shouldn't have supported General Prayut as prime minister. But as you saw, the majority of the party thought otherwise, and I had to respect that.
Mm-hmm. How do you explain that the old guard, members of the old guard, some of the strongest figures of the party like Kun Chuan Lik Pai, couldn't even lend a helping hand in trying to revive the party? He was almost, rejected outright by the new power group.
Right, because I think the majority of MPs have entered the political scene under very different circumstances.
Yeah.
So somehow they didn't go through the periods and actually take in what the party had done in the past in terms of what we stood for and what we fought. So I think that was partly it. And they now just see maybe the shorter term maneuverings in politics as being more important, because up until today, the party continues to struggle to deny that it's just waiting to be in the coalition.
I can understand that it's very hard for you to take that, to really accept the fact that you had to leave the party in which you devoted so much effort to try to make it a party that people could trust. And that decision must have come with a really heavy heart. But then people said Kun Abhisit could never leave politics. So if he decides to leave the Democrat Party, he must be contemplating or talking to people about starting a political movement, some kind of a movement that would at least offer him a chance to do what he thinks is right politically for the country. And I'm sure people, and in fact, people have told me that, oh yeah, Abhisit is talking to some people and that they're thinking seriously about starting a party or doing something about politics. Have you really discussed this with some close friends?
No, I thought I was very clear in my public statements that I'm not interested in joining another party.
No one believed you. No one believed you.
Well,
people would believe that you would not join another party, but people would not believe that you just leave it at that, saying bye-bye, goodbye, and you won't.
And, I have also said to the public and members of the party that if the party should ever change course, that would certainly be, the only realistic path for me back into politics. Having said that, I quite like the way you worded your question when you started not with the word party, with the word movement.
Yes.
Because I think, I'm still passionate about issues in politics and, all the problems concerning the country and even at the international level. So, if I can make contributions in some form or another, I will. So that's why I continue to, do these public speaking engagements and interviews like today.
Yeah.
So, so
Yeah.
maybe we should start talking about the problems facing the world and the country
I'm sure.
rather than me.
Yeah, I'm sure. And people mentioned Kun Korn Jatigawanit, your close friend, who probably was also very upset about the failure of his attempt to try to create some kind of a political movement. He also failed. How did you two, the two perhaps the brightest brains in the country, manage to fail so badly when it comes to politics?
Well, I won't call it fail. I think
I was teasing you. I was teasing.
I know. I was trying to defend Gon.
Okay.
No, I think I could understand. I didn't agree with Gon leaving the party.
No.
I thought he could have waited for his opportunity, but I could very well understand why he did,
Yeah.
and what he wanted to try to do. I just thought that the political environment was not really conducive to him succeeding.
No.
And I could have said the same to Kun Somkit,
Yeah.
Kun Sudarat.
Yeah.
They were facing the same problem,
Yeah.
which is in the old days in British politics, it was called breaking the mold. Where a third party has time and time again failed
Yes.
to break into the mainstream politics.
Yes.
The situation was like that, and I think all three of them, when they tried to found and run their own party, thought also that at the very least the constitution would be unchanged, and therefore at least they would get a few seats in parliament and be active.
Yeah.
But there was also a constitutional amendment that worked against them. And I think I understand they tried also talking about merging the parties, which would have probably been a more realistic way of presenting themselves as a third force.
Right.
But of course, it didn't work out. But for me, I you know me. I mean, I was in politics for 30 years.
Right.
I've never really put myself at the center of how I see things. And I've always insisted that every politician, indeed every person, should do that. That is to say that they should not attach self-importance, certainly not over-attach self-importance. And in a democracy, you just have to accept if the majority of the people, if the majority of your party feel one way, you respect their decisions. You have your own decision is about whether you want to change your stance in order to hang on, or do you want to stand your ground and say, well, this is not my time, and I leave it to the people who are given the opportunities. So I've taken the latter course.
Right. But also as a politician, you also would be obliged to provide an alternative to the public as well. In my definition of a good politician, if you cannot be part of a party, then you should propose a solution or an alternative to the public, and you have not done that so far.
No, exactly. I completely agree with you. But your words began with "if you're a politician." So I would only get back into politics if I feel I do offer an alternative.
Yes.
At the moment, I think me being in politics in some form or another is not going to be able to provide that alternative. Not yet.
Not yet.
And so I just have to see whether there would be that window, whether there would be changing circumstances that would allow me to be in politics and provide a real alternative. Because I completely agree with you. There's no point being there if you're just hanging on, being part of a system that you're not going to change, despite the fact that you're not happy with it.
But your political thinking and Kun Korn's political thinking, I see a common ground of progressive thinking, looking at Thailand in the new century, trying to boost Thailand's position in the international arena, at the same time raise Thailand standards and the vision, the mindset. A lot of people would be waiting for you and couldn't go on. And of course, younger people who would be more than happy to see leaders like you to say, okay, let's start a new movement. Hopefully we can form a party. Because, whether you planned it this way or not, politics today, after Kun Thaksin returns, is another ball game already. From the day you announce your resignation from the party, now people want an alternative. If Khao Klai Move Forward Party is dissolved, there is a gap there to be filled, don't you think?
No, I don't think the gap is related to what's going to happen to Move Forward Party. Mm-hmm. I think even if they are dissolved and mm-hmm. some of their members are disqualified, mm-hmm. they now have enough critical mass mm-hmm. to continue what mm-hmm. they've done. Mm-hmm. It's just under a different banner, just with a different party, with a different name. Yeah. But I think the movement is there. Yeah. The base is there, the support is there. Mm-hmm. So they will still very much occupy that space. But going back to what you said about, progressive forces. Yeah. Again, that's what we've been gone, myself, other people have been trying to do. Yeah. But you should notice that such forces are now rarely successful anywhere in the world. And that's not a coincidence, It's a result of a number of factors that have contributed to mm-hmm. polarization, to the rise of populist, extremist, nationalist mm-hmm. types of parties and leaders mm-hmm. who are now successful. Even, mm-hmm. The more progressive politicians and leaders around the world. Right. I won't mention names, but they have also succumbed mm-hmm. to the need to appear more mm-hmm. nationalist, to appear more populist, mm-hmm. and so on. Mm-hmm. So it's not unique to Thailand. No. And I say that the gap is still there in the sense that obviously with the current coalition mm-hmm. being formed as a marriage of convenience, if you like, right. no real ideology that ties them. Mm-hmm. And with the Move Forward itself, mm-hmm. although it casts itself as a progressive force, mm-hmm. there are, I've always said, mm-hmm. very, shall we say, illiberal traits. Okay. And the way they've also positioned themselves, marketed themselves, mm-hmm. play into the hands of the more extremist forces in society. Mm-hmm. So there is a gap, but it's not something that you can just jump in and fill. No. And especially with the way social media operate, mm-hmm. Unless there is a real demand, mm-hmm. there's a critical mass, again, I have to use that word, mm-hmm. for forces to occupy that space. It's mm-hmm. not going to happen for a while. Well, before Move Forward Party emerged, there was no real clear message from the public that we want this kind of political party. Move Forward Party came up and then people say, oh, this is what, might respond to our needs. This is where the gap is. This is where you can fill the gap. So perhaps you have to... My argument was always that the Suthichai mm-hmm. very much contributed to the rise of the Future Forward and Move Forward. I would agree with that, yes. Yeah, because somehow many of the progressive forces were sucked into a coalition that were pro-coup. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That were just too concerned with fighting Thaksin or whoever, mm-hmm. and begin to lose their principles. And so when Suthichai came in, and the performance of two governments under General Prayut certainly did not satisfy anybody who felt that Thailand needs change, needs to move forward. So they were looking for a force for change, and Future Forward and Move Forward fill that gap very nicely. And, with their more extremist platforms, you might think that would be a vote loser. I think that gives them the authenticity. Yep. That they are genuinely something new. that they are genuinely for change, because I think people had already been disappointed with well, Kun Thaksin recently claimed that Thai Rak Thai and Pheu Thai were also party of change, but you know, the general public feel that they've been, well, to use the economist word, shortchanged.
Or changed.
Yes, in the end, the all parties or the political parties are just happy to share power when they can, and so I think this has contributed to the rise of the Move Forward.
But then the Move Forward party cannot monopolize this new trend. I was thinking perhaps that if Move Forward party is dissolved, it might retains its movement, but I suspect that there would emerge a few parties that will follow a similar line, perhaps, but not as extreme, but then filling the gap of single issue parties. And
I think it's not as easy as you think for two reasons. So this new party that, or parties that you are talking about, either would emerge from all politicians, or you know, people who are completely new.
Right.
Now, the problem with people who are completely new to this is that because Move Forward has or Future Forward have never been in power, they are still fresh in the sense that they've never had that chance. So for new people to somehow come up with a platform similar to Move Forward and to claim the support of people who believe in those agenda, I think it's more difficult because they don't have the credibility that, you know, the Move Forward no longer has to establish its credibility in terms of championing those issues. All right. As for the old politicians, they have the problems, myself included, have the problems of having to overcome the credibility gap.
Right. Are you genuine? Are you are you real? Are you for real? Right.
Yeah, exactly. Because, you know, you've been there before. So I think it still needs a bit more time for people to see a genuine space opening up for progressive forces as an alternative to Move Forward, to come into Thai politics. In the meantime, I think this struggle between the old and new forces will continue. And of course, Pheu Thai now becomes somehow the champion of the conservative wing, if you like.
The new conservative wing.
Although Pheu Thai has denied that.
Right. They have denied it officially, very vehemently too. No, we are not conservative. We are not even neo-conservative. But I think the incentive for the new parties would be that now politics doesn't have to use so much money. You don't have to do it the way that they used to canvass for votes. You don't have to have the banyai, the dynasties, provincial mafia people, the big families. You can actually work with social media. You can actually reach a lot of people with your ideology, with your thinking. I think that is a very important incentive or encouragement for young people who say, hey, why don't we just follow the Move Forward party, the mode, the way that they succeeded. We don't necessarily have to have that label of being too progressive. We can be just moderate, but then make use of that channel, the new channel, that we can reach a lot of grassroots people. I think that in itself is a very important aspect of politics today.
Well, I wish that was 100% true.
That's my dream, maybe. That's my.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that we reach that stage someday.
Yeah.
I don't think we're there yet.
No.
And I would say that you look at the local elections. The people aligned with the Move Forward and Future Forward in the past are still struggling really to win local elections. Yeah. That might change next year. We don't know. But we've just had 2 provinces, still showing the strength of the so-called Ban Yai.
Yes.
And and you know the success that Move Forward Party had in the last election. I know because people were surprised by the gains they had made. But in terms of the proportion of the votes, in terms of the number of seats, you know, it still has some way to go before it can actually reach an overall majority. I think they're doing well, partly because I think people have been disappointed with the government's performance. So if they can keep up the momentum, they might get closer to what you've said, but I don't think they're there yet.
Well, it's early days for this kind of politics. It's only about 4 years or 8 years at most if you go back.
And, you know, I say this because if you go back to 2007, okay, the Democrat Party won provinces like Chonburi, and other places, and we thought, well, we've managed to break through, and within 2-3 years, you know, the Ban Yai came back
regrouped
in a big way, and just to give you an idea, in the 2007 elections, the Democrats actually had a higher portion of the votes than the Move Forward in the last election. And also more seats. All right. So yeah, I think the Move Forward is still on track to bigger gains in the next elections. But whether those gains will be sufficient to propel them into power, that is still, I don't think, quite clear.
It might be, in fact, good for them to wait 1 or 2 more elections to be in power. They would learn it the hard way. They would know that it's not that easy. They would realize that there will be defections. They would need to be able to discipline their members in more efficient way. Maybe if they became government in the past, if Pita became prime minister in the first attempt, I would be quite surprised, and it could be quite dangerous because they were totally new. But then this might be the way to go. That is that you fumble.
You know, I think you're right. I think they have benefited from not being in power this time. I'm not so sure being out of power for 8 or more years would actually do them good, you know? So that's quite a difficult one to call. But I think what they do have going for them is that obviously Pheu Thai, who is still the most realistic contender to beat them, will have to really deliver in the last, you know, in the next 3 years. And that's not going to be easy because of the global environment. And also because it looks as though many of the policies that were campaign pledges were not really thoroughly thought through. That's why they're struggling with delivering them, certainly in the form that they presented them during the elections.
I'm sure Kun Thaksin is also seriously looking at politics the way we are talking about, and that is he's analyzing whether his daughter, Kun Paetongtarn, can win the next election for Pheu Thai and how they're going to beat Khao Klai, Move Forward Party. So I think that for him is the most important strategy to work out.
Yeah, and I think he's that's certainly on his mind. And we can see over the last couple of weeks that he has become much more active.
So yes.
No longer really hiding behind anything. But you see, that cuts both ways. Because on the one hand, it might be able to sort out the internal problems. It might be able to help the Pheu Thai government in terms of policy or whatever. But at the same time, what has really hit Pheu Thai, even during the elections and after the elections, had been all about, is the party about the country or is the party about him?
Right. That's right.
That's right. I think they lost the election because of that, because they were not believed when they said that they would not join forces with people involved with the coup. And with the formation of the coalition and with his coming back without serving a day in prison with all the questions being asked about his health and so on. Him becoming more active will also be, as I said, be a double-edged sword, because I'm sure you know that up and down the country, people do feel that there is something not right about what's happened. And if this continues, or even if it goes even further and further, now we're talking about the possible return of Kun Yingluck and so on. It could really backfire.
Well, I was trying to think on his behalf. He's having a dilemma. If he does not show up or doesn't make sure that he is upfront, then the party might slide down further. But then, if he believes that Paetongtarn can really take the party to victory, then he can sit back and perhaps offer support from behind the scenes. But he's not confident. So he has to be upfront, and he has to meet all the ministers. He has to go out and shake hands with people so that at least he thinks he can revive the party that way. But as you said, it cuts both ways.
Well, I don't know why you and I are trying to put ourselves in his shoes, because
politics, we're trying to understand how each...
Because the one thing that we should have learned is that neither of us thinks like him.
No.
But what I see is that he simply, I don't think, he simply can't resist.
No,
he can't resist. I'm not talking about rationale anymore. I don't think he can resist the limelight.
No.
I don't think he is prepared to make people believe that somehow he's not really the one in charge of the party. And even all the photos that have come out and of course a lot of outrage. I think for him it's the opposite. Right. It's just showing that he's in charge, he's in control.
The upcoming cabinet reshuffle is not going to help. Is it going to help his status?
It's certainly not going to help the prime minister as prime minister standing, because it looks as though, if it happens quite soon, because only a few days ago, I think he was saying that no, these just rumors.
Right. Only last.
And then suddenly, after all these ministers meet with Kun Thaksin, today he's now saying that, oh yes, it's possible to have a reshuffle. It's not going to do him much good.
No.
So, it's almost the same thing as what's happening to him and the Bank of Thailand,
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Because one of the reasons the Bank of Thailand might resist reducing interest rate is for fear that it would lose its credibility.
So when people ask me, especially foreigners, they say, who's really running the country? How do you respond to question from friends?
Well, you say officially it's Kun Sethar.
That's what he said too. But that is a very, very dangerous situation, because
and I think I just wish we would learn. People would learn from history. We've seen what had happened. This is deja vu for many of us, with the Samak days, the Yingluck days, and so on. I just hope that they will learn some lessons and get on with dealing with the problems, because as a country we are in need of restructuring, in need of forward-thinking, proactive policies, not just for the short term, but to really get us back as a competitive economy, also as a force to be reckoned with in international community.
But without quality politics, without professional politicians, we're not going to achieve those goals.
Well, I just wish that we would all learn the lessons, and we would recognize that we live in a situation which now makes it much more important for politics to deliver changes that are not just about winning votes.
No.
Because I think for the first time in a good part of 3 decades, or even almost 4 now, we now no longer have the forces of globalization helping us. We've always been an open economy, an open country, but deglobalization and nationalism on the rise is not going to help us. We no longer can be confident about peace. On the contrary, people begin to talk about a world war. So, this is a grave situation where we do need effective politics to take the country forward. So at least, when they make the announcement, the latest about the digital wallet scheme, I just wish, it's over and done with. Whether you agree with it or not, they really should just get on, because there are so many more important challenges that the country faces. And the digital wallet, and with respect, even with the language, are not going to be the answers.
But you mean that let's get over it and then move on?
Yeah, I think it's something that's been, the political pressure is on, and they have to find a solution. So just get it done quickly and move on.
But how is Kun Suthichai going to raise his standing? 7 months now, and he seems to be lost as to where is going, where the country's direction. He has been flying around the world trying to get foreign investment, but then suddenly Kun Thaksin appears on the scene, and then he looks like he is, looking left and right. A lot of people asking him, what are you doing? What's your role? Can you really, call the shots? And he's, mumbling. How are we going to move?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think he just needs to demonstrate leadership in some of his decisions, and somehow make it known that those decisions are really his.
Yeah, make it known or make it a fact.
Well, you can't know things that aren't facts, right?
Oh, you pretend to know some facts.
You can only pretend to know.
Yeah, pretend to know. But then, in a way, Kun Suthichai has that bargaining chip, because Thaksin knows that Paetongtarn is not ready to assume prime ministership yet. Thaksin still has to rely on Suthichai for the next at least 2 or 3 years, because otherwise the premiership will go to the second party in the coalition, because no one else in the party, in my thinking, could really replace it.
I don't know. I think if there were going to be a change, and as we assume that Kun Thaksin is the one that calls the shots, it wouldn't matter too much to to find a way of getting somebody of his choice. My concern is not really whether Kun Suthichai can hang on. I think there's a real possibility that he could serve the whole term. But I just wish that he would have, since he is prime minister, he would have the authority and the leadership to do what is needed. That should be our concern. So the internal problems, you should just leave it up to the Pheu Thai party to sort out.
No, but then it's a question of kreng chai. If Kun Thaksin does not kreng chai Kun Suthichai and talks to people openly about policies, about doing this, about doing that, then his effectiveness as prime minister would be lost. So,
which is why I said you need an instance of a decision that is clear, that it comes from him. And I think they're in the same boat, because if the government doesn't deliver, they're just staring down another defeat in the next elections.
That's 3 years from now.
Yeah.
So how do we survive these 3 years as a people?
as a people, well, I've always been. I mean, I've always argued, and I do believe that the country and the people do have their own strengths.
Well, we hope so.
Despite our politics, so some of that will carry us through. but we're just missing opportunities.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
just not going to be able to reach our potential.
Well, this government has been saying that we have not been growing up to our, what is it, potential.
Yeah, we've certainly underachieved as an economy.
Some economists have argued that no, it's not that we are not being able to grow at our potential, but our potential has gone down. So we, in effect, has reduced our capacity. So we cannot grow above, or we cannot punch above our weight. We have lost weight.
Right. I say we've underachieved, and I would agree that part of that is because our potential has dropped.
Yes.
Which is why when we look at policies that would encourage growth, we should not be looking at stimulus as the first choice, right? But as I said, because of the political considerations, the digital wallet scheme is something that just has to go through. But I just hope that the government will look beyond that and look for ways to increase our potential. And as I said, the language is also not the kind of answer we're looking for. And I think the two main areas that will help would be, number one, the issue of deregulation and overhauling of our legal systems. But at the moment, the whole legal system and justice system is a mess because of what's been happening. And the second thing, of course, is reskilling our people. I think if we had those two, when Prime Minister Sethar travels abroad, he would have a much, much more powerful message.
Yeah.
Thailand is going to get back in business because we've changed our laws to accommodate the new growth areas. And we've got the people who have the right competencies and skills to help with the investment opportunities here. So, I just think the first issue is not particularly difficult. It doesn't need a budget.
No.
Just have to take it on seriously. The second issue, a few months back, I said, look, if they change the digital wallet scheme, one where you give 10,000 baht coupons to people and they have to use that to reskill themselves. I think it would be a great policy.
Yeah, this is what Singapore is doing.
Right.
Credit.
But a number of parties have proposed that in the past here as well. So there's no reason why we shouldn't try something like that as well.
Oh, you know why? I'll tell you why. Because Sin believes that there must be a real big bang. This is the kind of policy that will wake people up and say, we are back. You see, so this is politically the only tool, only weapon that they have. So you must.
But you see, they are trying to do too many things. If they really wanted to do that, the best way to do it is with cash.
Yeah. But they were scared because a lot of people came out and said, no, you can't do it. You're going to go to jail if you would do it. So they got.
No. But by going through this digital path, they now run into problems because now you and I can't cash in. No. But you and I can't receive the 10,000 baht in the first place. My assumption. But ordinary people cannot cash in. They have to spend. But then the next step, the people who got the people's money will presumably be able to cash in.
Yeah, presumably, but this is not the case.
Well, now you're going to get into a mess about who will be able to join this scheme.
That's right.
As traders and as producers. And so this is going to affect the effectiveness of the stimulus. And there's a real risk, as I think some people have pointed out, that all the money will in fact go into the modern retail network.
Right.
And then the multiplier, so to speak, would be very, very small.
No, but they wanted to put too many things in the same basket. They wanted to also be popular and also to be seen to be very sophisticated in terms of the digital technology. They want to use the word blockchain with with the populist policies.
I think, to be fair, there are a couple of reasons, I think, why they think this would be a good idea. Number one is, of course, collecting information, collecting data.
Right.
Okay. Well, exactly what data will be used for, I don't know. but I think that there's a rationale there for saying it's a good opportunity to collect data.
Right.
Number two, I think it's also the case that if they do it this way, they would be able to monitor how people spend and control how people spend. Particularly, when the idea came up in the first place, they didn't want people to spend far from home. Okay, that has additional problems, but I think the intention is, well, maybe you can somehow try to keep that money in the community, which is not a bad objective in itself. Whether this will actually help, I don't know.
So too many objectives in one scheme, and you started having these legal issues. And you started having the academics saying, is this really a good thing? This is going to be just?
Yeah, I think the legal problems really also create problems for them in terms of the stimulus itself as well. I think when it was conceived, they thought they could get away with spending digital money.
Yeah.
And therefore, there would be no need for the government to actually have real money.
Wow. Then
until people cash in.
That's one of the problems, that this government had not done its homework before launching any project. That must be, homework 101. That is, hey, can we do this legally? If they had done the homework, they would know it's not possible, because the Bank of Thailand would say, no, you have to have cash right up front.
Suthichai, you will recall that the Prime Minister once said that the idea that they had to borrow was suggested by the Bank of Thailand.
Yeah, I know why.
I believe that because exactly the Bank of Thailand simply will not allow any government to create its own money supply, and therefore take away the control of monetary policy away from the central bank for good reasons. So that's why the Bank of Thailand insisted that you must have the money in your hands, not just create them. But you see, now that they have decided to comply with the law, the power of the stimulus will be considerably less.
Right, that's true.
Because they're eating into the fiscal space that would otherwise be available for other projects.
Yeah, so it's very complex and very confusing. And I think the one person was responsible with the Prime Minister himself. But then, you can understand why, because he has been given the assignment to launch this project, and then he had a few thousand other things to do at the same time. And each project had to produce results, the land bridge, the soft power project, none of which has produced any, concrete results so far.
But in the end, as I said, even included, this word soft power, which is has its novel use now, is pretty much a continuation of what we used to call the creative economy initiative. But even that in itself, even if it were well implemented, would still be not enough to transform the Thai economy.
No.
Which is why, even with the digital wallet, the land bridge, now even with soft power, it's still not enough. That's why I hope that the Prime Minister will see that, he should make quick decisions on these issues and really move on to tackle the problems that we want to see tackled. Maybe we should add the casino as well, that's not part of the answer.
That's another big, I think the project, the scale and the confusion that it has caused will also follow the same fate as the land bridge and the digital wallet scheme. understand why, each of these projects begins with not sufficient information and proper planning before.
I think that's partly because of the political pressure for a quick win,
Quick win, yes. And the Prime Minister has stopped using that word. In the beginning, he used it every day. Now, I think he realizes that quick win is not going to work. Quick wins do not provide sustainable success. Okay.
I think he would take a win now, whether if it's slow or quick. So
give me a win, slow or quick. Okay, a snapshot. What do you see in the next 2 or 3 years? What are some of the scenarios that you would like to share with us?
Well, I think the politics would still be very much the same as what we've seen over the last year. And my concern, of course, is that that leads to even further divisions and polarization. And the disappointment, particularly of the young generations, will have to find an outlet somewhere. And given that there's the move forward would likely also be dissolved, that the constitutional rewriting or amendments will not be what people had hoped for. There's that danger that we have again a politics that disappoints too many people, and yet there appears to be no real attempt at trying to bridge the gaps and see how we can truly reconcile. I talked to you a few years back and talked about the need for a grand deal.
Yes, grand deal, right?
We've had a lot of deals, but none of them are grand in the sense that I wanted.
Secret deals, but no grand deals so far.
Right.
Okay, thank you very much, good Abhisit.
It's a pleasure, always a pleasure.
Yeah, always a pleasure also to talk to you, and I hope to be able to invite you back to discuss some other interesting, important, significant topics on the region, Myanmar, ASEAN,
the Middle East.
It's the wars, that are going on. I think I would ask for your permission to get you back, and we can discuss more on those important issues. Thank you very much, Kun Abhisit, for today.
A pleasure. Thank you.